thing is that, okay. Do you see that on the screen? No, it's an audio recording, right? Or video recording.
It's a video.
But does this box show up if I don't do got it?
I don't know.
I'm seeing like a notice here. Okay. In any case, so the number one was that you have to know you did the Avera. Number two, you have to know that it's not good. It's a bad thing, right? Otherwise, you're not going to regret it. You're not going to regret it if you don't know you did it. You're not going to regret it if you don't realize it's a bad thing, even if you know you did something. And number three, you have to know that you deserve a punishment, and there's a punishment for your actions. Okay. If you don't know that, nothing that's going to force him to be sorry about what he did. I did a bad thing, and no, wrong. But if there's no what's the word? There's no to your actions. If there's no consequence, the actions, punishment. So I can live with it. Now it sounds like to me again. We all grew up that there's years hate and there's years haroimimos, and ultimately a person to reach the level where he serves Hashem out of ava or out of awe, not because of the punishment. Mm-hmm. And the Messiah Yeshua, if I remember correctly, in fact says there's three categories of people. There's the Hamonam that what motivates them to do good and bad is schar v'noinish. There's the middle group that's motivated by COVID, and the third group that's motivated because of the essence, of.
What's the middle group again?
COVID. Seems to be a very powerful meter. You do things to get covered. I'm reading a book now called Rav Getzel. It's about this Hasidic Yid, came from Europe, ended up in England. He's not alive anymore. Ultimately, he ended up being one of the wealthiest people in England. Like, he owned land and everything everywhere. But nobody knew anything about him. He was like a real Hasidic Pashidi Yid. He never really changed his home, He lived in the same home that he always lived in, and he was a Talmud Chacham extraordinary. It seems he could quote, pieces of the Ketzais by heart and the Minchas Chinuch by heart, and he would catch his upset at his grandson because he had to look back in the Durham at Iran that they learned the day before. How do you forget? I think he was a real Talmud Chacham, but he was a regular, Joe person, and he would spend a few hours a day at work, and he was a person that covered that's why I was being, he became like the Satmar Rebbe's, right hand. He was, it seems, incredibly wealthy, and when they try to do an article about it, the press found out about this guy. They really couldn't get a handle because they didn't have the kalim to understand what a Hasidic Yid is, what Avodas Hashem is, and all of this was so inconsequential to him. It just didn't fit any mold that they could feel. So they looked at him as some type of strange hermit, But he wasn't. He was quite active. He was just medrash learning, In any case, but most of us, that was the chiddush. So most of us are very, very much motivated by kavod. Everyone wants a nice word. Everyone wants to be noticed and respected. And when you do something, you want it depends how loud you want to say it, but everyone wants it to clap for you, And the highest level is someone who serves Hashem because of shleimus. He understands that this is haLevavos seems to be talking about level one. if I know it's bad, isn't that enough of a reason for me to do tshuva and have charata? If let's say there was no punishment, but I know I did inherently a bad thing. He's saying, no, you won't do tshuva. You won't have charata. You have to know, prerequisite number 3 is you have to know you have a punishment. If you don't know, there's nothing that's going to make you have charata on what you did. Just 1 minute, please. Okay. There's nothing here that's gonna cause you, force you to have charat on what you did.
Why
What's that?
we're talking about the second category too? I mean, Scarbonesh is obvious, but by Chovos,
Yeah.
it's also for the wrong reason.
It's not. It
And he
seems
doesn't
like it's
realize it. He doesn't realize he's doing it wrong.
Again. So what are you asking?
In other words, the Chovos haLevavos is talking about Sparva owner, the fundamental.
Right.
First, you have to realize it's a fake, then you have to realize it's wrong, it's poor, and now you have to recognize that there's going to be an onish,
Right.
Magili onish, right?
Right.
So you were trying to relate that to the
First level was yes, Sean.
first Mesil Sushana. But I'm saying that might be the second level too.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought, I really what I was trying to say was, it would seem from Shir Hashem that there is a level of serving Hashem that is beyond that. When a person has grown, right, he's matured to the extent that he understands Avodas Hashem is something essentially choshev, and it brings you perfection, it brings you kiras alikim, and even according to Chovos haLevavos that he said before, we're not going to talk about the fact kiras alikim, but it's my shleimus, right? It's my personal shleimus. That's also a reason to do tshuva. You're wrong, right? You realize that you have a fault. You realize that it's a very serious reason to do tshuva. But the Chovos haLevavos is saying not like that. So it sounds to me that he's talking about the basic level. You want to say the second level also. But he's talking and he's saying, without knowing that there's a punishment, you're not going to do tshuva. There's nothing that's going to cause you or force you to what's the top here? It says in a tzarech mevia lacharata. But when it's clear to you that there's a punishment waiting, and you really have regret when you did a sin and you slipped and did an avera, you know that you're in trouble. The principal's going to catch you, And you ask right away, you ask to be forgiven. And I'm understanding from the Pischei Lev on the bottom, the pasuk, it's the second part of the pasuk. When it says, after it became known to me, what? What became known to me? The Einish that's waiting for me. So Safakti Yera. I sort of clapped my hands in despair, whatever. Right? That was the cause. And the second pasuk, I fear you mishpat. Okay, that's clear. I mean, right? Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4 is it's not going to be forgotten. The very you did is ונכתוב בספר אבינויסף, והשם לא יסלם ממך, ולא ישכח אותך. If you push it off, you're not going to gain anything, because Hashem's not going to forget. ולא יוותר, לא יולף, and he won't be mevater. Moshe Kosav, hello, you come and see Modi. Awesome, what should I say? Right? It's hidden away with me, signed in my Oitzer, in Emar. Yad kol odem yachtoim ladas kol anshe maseyu. The sign of Toikif, right? The hands, this must be the source for the sign of Toikif, those one lines. Yad kol odem yachtoim, a pasuk in Iyyar. You sign it. And when you die, so you're shown. Everyone should know, each person should know his actions, and we judge them. Person feels that what he did is hefker ve'ena shomerloi, and no one's keeping tally, so he won't have charata. Brian, could you stop it again for a minute? What's that?
Rabbi Fran talks about this. He gave an example.
Yeah.
He was coming home on a plane from Eretz, and his wife, at the end of the flight, they offered a meal, and there was an orange. And she didn't eat it on the flight, and she stuffed it in her bag. Apparently, while they were waiting for their luggage at the turnstile, the dog came up and sniffed her.
Okay.
And he found
the orange.
The orange.
Yeah.
Well, they took them into a room, and they brought out a record. Apparently, this sort of thing happened 10 years prior. And they brought it up. So in his drasha, he was trying to explain that, when you go before Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's a supercomputer. It's clearly not just what they can do at JFK.
Right.
But, he's going
to
remember everything that happened.
Right. So, but if you don't know that, if you think it is hefker, and all right, it's true, there's punishment, but we could roll with it and it'll be forgotten. Then you're not going to have charata, and you're not going to ask to be forgiven. Because the punishment is delayed. So I assume you're going to think that it's forgotten. If it was pure dinner, you get punished immediately, so you get punished immediately. But since there's rachamim, so I don't see the punishment. Okay, so we'll forget about it. Being that it wasn't done quickly, but the Masera can moli lebnei odam, I guess the punishment there for people allow themselves for him to do bad, since the punishment isn't immediate. And psychologically, you view it that it's not going to happen. So number 4 has to be that you know that there is punishment. Oh, no, that was number 3. Number 4 is that it's written and you signed on the document.
Right.
And it's not going to be forgiven. It's not going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
Or forgiven. The 5th thing is you have to believe that tshuva could change things. Because if you don't believe it, so then it could be you're doing all the first 4 things, but okay, nothing to be done. I blew it and I blew it. But if I have to believe that, no, tshuva is the way of healing your illness, your spiritual illness. And arucha means also being healed from the evil ways. Oh, I'm reading the top. I'm sorry. So again, hadavar chamishu in the leifto. She'em meshuchna be'emes ha'tshuva ya'trufa shamachlosai. V'aderech sharafuah mi'mais v'roim u'polav ha'mechoyor. That's really the medicine. V'shal yadu yochel l'taken shkiyosav, and through tshuva I could correct, I could fix, rectify my shgiyosav, my mistakes. Lahashal ma she'echtzim avodas Hashem. And he says in the same thing, and I could make up what I was lacking. It's, you might think that tshuva only could clean the slate, but what about things that I didn't get to do? I didn't get to learn as much as I should. Let time go. I mean, is that what he's saying over here? That tshuva, you could also.
No, it's mashlim what your deficiency in your avodas Hashem, right? It fills it up. It's
mashlim. In the top it says v'yoshiv abedosa. On the top, the literal words of Iyyar.
Did it mean that you've fallen, but once you've done tshuva, you're back up to where you were? You haven't lost out.
I'm sorry, I wasn't focused. Again?
In other words, by doing the Avera, you've done down in the Madrega. Once your tshuva is done properly and accepted, you rise back up.
Rise back up. Yeah. He refers us, I'm not saying refers us to what we said at the beginning, where he actually compared it to an Aveda, when you do an Avera. That tshuva isn't just bringing you back to avodas Hashem. Besides that,
where are you reading?
God, I'm reading in Ramat Yisrael.
Oh.
Right? He says that tshuva not only does it correct the bogadnu, which means I rebelled against you, Hashem, but there's also a shamnu. Shamnu means something towards in, right? I made myself empty. Shamnu, shmama, right? And through, and that you lost a certain perfection, a certain completeness by doing it. You affected yourself, and the tshuva brings yourself back to that. Okay, so he says, so therefore, let's go back. You have to believe this. If it's not clear to you, it's not the reality. So you'll think, I blew it. Hashem won't forgive me. He won't have any. So no reason to ask for tshuva and do tshuva if it doesn't do anything. We're stuck with our averas. I think it means like we're shriveling away or something. How will we live? Hashem responded to this statement by Klal Yisrael. If that is my desire, rather, they should do tshuva. Let's see if we could hadava hashishi. Sit down and make a list of all the good that Hashem did from when you were born until now. And how you, in turn, rebelled against Hashem instead of thanking Him. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, that seems to be clear. The case that Himra Isam, and how you went, and you were Himra means to go against, revolted, rebelled. Instead of, in place of thanking Hashem for everything he did, you paid Hashem back with bad. Now, again, this has to be a prerequisite to do tshuva. Also, sounds like this is a second in Cain, also, not a continuation. You have to take into account the punishment that's waiting for you in this world and the next world, calculating how much pleasure did I have from the Avera, and what's waiting for me this world and the next world. And the benefit, the pleasure that I'll have from the reward in this world and the next, Avra mitzvah shias, because the mitzvahs that you do neged hatzar, in comparison to the difficulty that you have, sometimes it's hard to do mitzvahs. Sometimes there is tzar. Be monetary expenditures, be physical expenditures, stress maybe sometimes. But yeah, make the cheshbon. What do I lose by doing the mitzvah compared to what I'll get for it? Uschar avera, and the pleasure I get, the benefit I get from doing the avera, negative seder, what's going to cause me to lose. Okay, how does this fit into the picture?
Well, now these are all the fundamentals, the prerequisites to doing tshuva.
Again,
you're getting to the parata stage, right?
You have to have clear how you're ending up in minus, not in plus. Is that what you're saying? So, and it's besides the punishment aspect, you should know that it's not even worth it. And you could say, okay, I'll take the punishment. It's worth it. We've done the Mashkiach used to say, done Sego. I remember. He's saying, so Rosh will say, okay, I'm willing to, I'm willing to forget the punishment from Gehenna, I'm willing. It's worth it for me. He says, big shot. He says, how long do you think you can keep your finger in a light a match and put your finger in the fire? How long do you think you can keep your finger there? You're so tough. You're ready to take that punishment. So that's what you're saying.
Bahavdil, there are people who speed to go to work, and they realize that they're going to get a few speeding tickets per year, and they measure that in. Is it worth it for me to speed and get the ticket and pay the ticket, see the points, but at least I'm getting where I want to go?
That's a business expense.
Yeah, exactly.
The write-off.
Yes, does it when they deliver packages, because they park in crazy places and double park and they get tickets. And they say,
that's fine.
Fine, it's worth it because you're delivering the packages in a timely fashion.
Oh, wow. He says over here, maybe we should leave it for tomorrow. It's a little bit long. We'll leave how he looks at this. Okay? What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Wednesday. Mitzvah Hashem.